I'm LexiTodd, and I am presenting case study number 4. So a little bit about client description. This learner is age 5. He is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. He is level 2 ASD. This learner is really new to ABA, really new to restrictive environments. He is verbal. Um, we do see some other behaviors due to lack of communication. So he has this language, but it's not always understandable. It's not very clear all the time. So we still see things like aggression, attention seeking behaviors, things like that, just because he isn't able to communicate the best as he should. So the behavior of concern in this case study is touching unsafe items or places, specifically touching the outlets. So we found that the function of this is attention. So the operational definition is touching outlets is defined as any instance the learner makes physical contact using his hand to touch the outlet or remove outlet covers, including but not limited to touching inside the outlet, outside the outlet, removal of the covers, or around the outlets. So for example, the learner touches the outlet covers with his hand and looks at his therapist. Another example is the learner removes the outlet cover and laughs. A non-example is the learner is asked to plug the vacuum cord in the outlet. Next slide here talks a little bit about response class and interventions. So I started with the definition of response class, which is responses that have different topographies but result in the same consequence. So for example, the response class of attention in this case includes touching the outlets, saying hey, waving, calling therapist name, etc. So the learner is looking for this attention, but seeking attention in inappropriate ways such as touching the outlets. So saying hi, waving, calling his therapist name, touching the outlets, they all result in the same thing. They all, he wants attention. So he could wave and call to his therapist, but he could also touch the outlets and gain attention as well. So look different, but same consequence. So rule governed behavior is behavior that is under the control of a verbally mediated rule. The behavior is insensitive to immediate contingencies. So the rule in this case is to not touch the outlets due to this being unsafe. So, we were saying things like, hey, don't touch, not safe, we don't touch outlets, things like that. So then we kind of moved to interventions and started implementing non-contingent reinforcement for appropriate behavior. So essentially, every time he wasn't touching the outlet. We also used functional communication training for gaining the therapist's attention. So we, implemented him tapping on his therapist's shoulder or also saying his therapist's name. We also physically blocked the outlets without giving any verbal attention. And then we used planned ignoring as long as it was safe. If he was actually not touching the outlets but kind of around it, like we had seen, we would use planned ignoring. But obviously, due to safety, we would block mostly as best as we could. So for outcomes and obstacles, so the behavior of concern was decreased pretty much immediately, especially when we were blocking and not giving that verbal attention anymore of hey, not safe, don't touch. But then also the functional communication training, being able to say hey Lexi and things like that when he wants the attention. So the interventions worked for this behavior. We did continue with non-contingent reinforcement for this behavior, but also I had mentioned other behaviors as well. So we were using this pretty much constantly. A small obstacle we ran into, and this is not necessarily due to the learner or the interventions itself, but due to short staffing, we were having many novel therapists on the learner, and so they were providing attention, not realizing that we were not providing attention to this behavior anymore. But yeah, this is my case study. Thank you.